and WordPress specifically, and you're going to have to find other ways of doing the exact same methods that we're using in WordPress in your other CMS or in your custom design builds. So things to consider prior to actually doing your rebuild. Number one is your previous site structure and topics. This basically just means that the old domain, because we're doing a rebuild here, we're looking at the old domain's site structure, seeing if we can potentially build off of their site structure if we're not going to use our own site structure methods, and then looking at the previous topics, so seeing if we can find any topical relevancy around what our domain's topic was about, and see if we can link it to topics related to our one, which we'll get onto in a little bit. The number of pages to rebuild, this is something that's extremely interesting. So the number of pages that you're going to have to rebuild could be 5, it could be 5,000. It really depends on the quality of this site previously and how much information you're going to be finding from way back from other stuff as well. And then finally you have your internal 301. So this is basically just looking at all of the individual pages that you're going to need to look at that potentially are going to need to be 301. So let's jump over to Ahrefs and take a look at that. Okay, so I've got the Ahrefs dashboard open here, and bear in mind that you don't need Ahrefs, but I do highly recommend it. You can use SEMrush, Moz, whatever kind of backlink checking tool you're going to be using, but Ahrefs generally has the most data and it has the easiest tools to be able to jump around. So when you're on the dashboard for the site, which we're on our domain here, as you can see, it's indexed with the French content because we have yet to index and submit to the GSC for the site. So we're going to go over to pages best by links. This will essentially give us all of the URLs for the site that has the number of referring domains and the UR. I generally go in, because I don't want UR, because it's a made-up metric by Ahrefs, has nothing to do with Google's actual rankings. I change from UR and I click to referring domains so that I can see which pages are going to be needing to be rebuilt, and then I can very simply go to page 2 to see, okay, here we are at 0, so we're going to maximum need to rebuild or 301 60 different pages. Sounds like quite a lot. It's actually not that much. You're going to be able to do that in about an hour or so, 2 pages a minute or so. It's not that difficult once you're doing the 301 stuff. And in our case, we are going to be doing the 301s because it's French. If I were to go and take this link, bear in mind also that if you're using these domains, a lot of the stuff will be 301 into new URLs and stuff. You're going to want to be taking the previous URL, not this new updated 301 URL, because it's more so likely that when you go to Wayback Machine, it will come up with actual results rather than just giving you a blank slate of information. So what we're going to be doing is coming up with a list of things here, and this is a perfect example of a URL. We don't want to be going for this because we have the single spike and we've only got this page. This, I guarantee, and because it's a green link, it's true, it's going to be a 301. So basically means that whilst it has indexed this URL at some point in 2017, it was 301ing in 2017. So when we go back to 2012, this is when we're going to have the multiple captures of the actual page itself, and it's blue, so we'll be able to see the link itself here from way back is blue. The icon's blue, it's not green. Green means it's a 301, blue means the page is live. Blue essentially allows you to then go through in here, and you can copy and paste this content and rebuild this exact page. As you can see, there's a ton of comments as well, which make this page significantly more depthy than just this usual content. If I was rebuilding this page, I would want to go ahead and rebuild the comment content as well. But as it's a French domain, previously as it was a French domain, or as a French page even, and we're aiming for an English site, we're not going to be rebuilding this. Instead, we're going to be 301ing it. So we're going to go over to our WordPress dashboard. We're going to go over to search, and we're going to put in 301 into the search for a new plugin, which is over here in our new plugins. And we're just going to look for normally I go for easy redirect management, which is just this one here, which is 3 minutes. For a redirect, I think they changed the icon though. And it's super simple. It allows you to very, very simply go to your settings, 301 redirects. It's already set up here. You can get a free license, but you don't need it. And then you can start creating your 301. So you can set up all of your stuff. So you can very simply go to the pages, posts, whatever one you want to select, or you can do a custom URL. So in our specific case, we do not yet, so I wanted to give you an example with this site, as I already talked about, where we're doing the topics away from what this site was previously about, which was about French travel, and we're going to be making it about English language travel. But as these pages are relevant to France, as they're relevant to specific locations, even when you actually go and view them, you actually get the dates and locations and stuff, all these world timers and things. You can actually use this page to try and find a location that is relevant. This is obviously specifically to do with this website. This needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because you obviously need to do these 301s based on your relevancy and not my relevancy. But the relevancy of this page is about France, it's about French locations. And as we're doing a hotel website, what we could potentially do is create a page around France, or around a specific area in France, which is ideal because this is a specific area. And then we can go and 301 all of the relevant link juice from this page, which hasn't got a ton of backlinks, to be fair, but the backlinks it does have are fairly decent, and they're relevant to France, and it has a fairly nice UR of 13. But as you can see, we have some DR90s, FrenchMorning.com, etc., etc. We have some decent links here that if we 301'd this towards a France travel page or a location-specific France travel page, it's probably going to give it a significant boost. Now, I wouldn't be using these because they're French to 301, and they're not relevant to my Denver posts, for example, or any of my other content. I would only be using these for French travel-related sites, making sure that you are matching the niche relevancy of the redirects as much as you possibly can. So on to site structure. I get the question quite a lot around rebuilding domains, where should you be using the previous site structure? Let's say I actually went and rebuilt the site structure of our example domain name. Would you then go and use the old site structure that they used? I would say 99.9% of the time, no. You don't want to be using their site structure because it's not going to be relevant to what you want to be doing. It's probably not going to be optimized, and site structure does play a very pivotal role in your SEO to do with topical authority, hierarchy, all that kind of stuff. So let's get on to it. Topically, we want to be setting up our site structure and our URLs to be segmented around their topical hierarchy, so that we're segmenting either, so in our example, we're going to either segment on a location dependent, or we're going to segment on what it's on a thing dependent, so things to do, where to stay, best hotels, that kind of stuff, rather than submitting it as a country and then location specific one. I do recommend doing, if you're doing an international website, I like this structure where you have /USA/Denver. You can even put Colorado in there. It makes it significantly easier to split up the site from a travel perspective, especially when users are trying to go around the site and they're only interested in that specific country or that specific area. If you are splitting up via the URL hierarchy, you're using breadcrumbs, all of that, it makes it significantly easier for users to click around, as well as the fact that you're telling Google specifically that these folders or these URL hierarchies are topically relevant to this. So you're cementing your entire site into topical relevance that Google understands. This subdirectory is to do with Denver, this subdirectory is to do with New York, etc., etc. You're making sure that it's set up properly. How to actually set this up within WordPress isn't that obvious, and it's kind of difficult. So don't get confused. In Yudish's video where he shows you how to build the design and how to set up WordPress, he goes through exactly how to set up this kind of structure. So handling old URLs with links, this is exactly what we were just talking about, where we did the 301s and we decided to rebuild the page or 301 it. It's very important whether you decide on if you're going to rebuild the page or 301 it. I like to set up a spreadsheet where you just where you export all of the Ahrefs links, and then you very easily go through your old pages and you easily note down which one is going to be 301'd and which one is going to be rebuilt. Obviously doing your manual analysis of the Wayback and Ahrefs at the same time. And the final thing you need to be looking at for rebuilding your domains and rebuilding the sites is controlling your brand itself. Now, I'm pretty lucky with my domain name because it's already ranking number 1, it's already indexed, there's not a ton of other stuff, and finally, there's not another domain that has followed up with it. A lot of the time people move domains, they sell domains, they rebrand, etc., and that's why you get such an awesome domain name. And unfortunately, when you actually Google their brand, it's now a new brand, it's changed brands, there's loads of news stories about it changing brands, that kind of stuff. So making sure that you have your domain in make sure that you have a SERP that you can control, that you can make sure that you have complete control over it, you're going to even be able to rank number 1 for, is very, very important. It's very easy, it's all about online reputation management. It's normally just the case to make new social profiles, make new accounts, new directory listings, get as many brand mentions as possible on authoritative websites for free. You don't even need to link build a lot of the time, but again, it's actually kind of difficult to go in and try and take control of previously owned dead social profiles. So making sure that you have new, fresh ones that Google is going to love is very, very important.